Don't sit there! That sofa is for the family. Staff sit near the kitchen.
Zainab's voice cut across the sitting room before the older woman could even put her handbag down. Ronke looked up slowly. She had traveled from Ibadan to meet the woman her son planned to marry. But Zainab did not know that. All she saw was a plainly dressed woman standing near the domestic staff. So she pushed a folded maid's uniform into Ronke's hands. "Change quickly. We are already behind schedule." Ronke opened her mouth to speak. Zainab had already turned away, and before that day ended, one billionaire would be forced to ask a question money could not answer. How well do you really know the person you are about to marry? Stay with this story, because when Zainab discovers who that new maid really is, the humiliation is only the beginning. Tell me where you're watching from and your local time. And if you enjoy stories about dignity, consequences, and how people behave when they think nobody important is watching, subscribe and stay with us. Because Niyi was already on his way home. Ronke Balogun had spent 34 years in classrooms, not glamorous classrooms. Government classrooms where ceiling fans sometimes worked, and sometimes only shook dust down from the blades. Classrooms where students came in late, because rain had turned the road outside their street into brown soup. Classrooms where parents could argue for 20 minutes over a missing exercise book, then cry in her office because school fees were due. She had been a teacher first, then a vice principal. By the time she retired, she had learned one thing she trusted more than certificates. You could tell a great deal about people by how they behaved when they believed nobody important was watching. That morning, she had not traveled to Lagos to test anybody. She had not planned a trick. She had not told her son, Niyi, "I want to see what this woman is really like." Nothing of that kind. In fact, she had resisted coming early. "Let me meet her when you are both there," Ronke had told him 2 weeks earlier. "Mummy, Zainab has been asking," Niyi replied. "She has met Auntie Bisi on video call. She has spoken to Uncle Dale. You are the only one left." "I am not a school inspection team," Niyi laughed. "Nobody said you are. You are marrying her, not me. I know. Then why are you sounding nervous?" Silence. Then Niyi laughed again, softer this time. "Because I know you." Ronke had smiled at that. She knew what he meant. She did not shout. She did not threaten. She did not arrive with a list of questions about a woman's cooking, family, fertility, church attendance, or ability to kneel low enough when greeting elders. She hated those humiliating performances. She had seen too many young women reduced to examinations in homes where the sons had never been examined at all. So she had decided that when she finally met Zainab, she would be simple. She would greet her, eat, listen, go home. That was the whole plan. The problem began with timing. Niyi was meant to arrive in Lagos before noon from Abuja, where a logistics conference had dragged 1 day longer than expected. Ronke was supposed to reach his house around 11:30, rest, and meet Zainab properly when both of them were present. But her driver from Ibadan made better time than expected. Then Niyi's flight was delayed. Then his phone went off during boarding changes. And when Ronke reached the gates of the house in Ikoyi shortly after 10, the place looked less like a home and more like a company preparing for product launch. A florist's van blocked one side of the driveway. 2 men were carrying stacked white chairs through the side entrance. A woman in black trousers was arguing on the phone about imported candles. A young man in a branded polo shirt was measuring something near the front steps. Someone inside shouted, "No, not those glasses." The other ones. Ronke stood beside her small navy suitcase and watched for a moment. This was the pre-wedding week. She knew there would be activity. She had not expected military movement. The security man at the gate had already confirmed her name after making a call inside, though whoever answered had clearly been distracted. "Yes, Ma. They said you can go in," he told her. He offered to carry her suitcase. Ronke shook her head. "It has wheels. Let it earn its salary." The man smiled. She rolled it herself. She was wearing a pale aqua blouse with 3/4 sleeves, a cream wrapper skirt, and flat leather sandals. No jewelry except her wedding band, which she still wore 12 years after her husband's death, and a small pair of gold studs. Her grey-streaked hair was braided neatly back and gathered into a low bun. Nothing about her looked poor. Nothing about her looked rich either. That was exactly how she liked it. At the front steps, a woman rushed past carrying 2 garment bags. "Please, new staff should use the side." Ronke stopped. "I'm not," but the woman was already gone. Ronke looked at the front door, then at the side corridor. She could have insisted. Instead, because people were carrying equipment through the front, she took the side. That small decision changed everything. Inside, the service corridor opened near a bright kitchen, large enough to feed a small hotel. 3 women were arranging trays. One of them, a slim woman in her late 20s wearing a mustard yellow blouse under a cream apron when Ronke entered. "Good morning, Ma." "Good morning. You are from the agency?" "No, I am here to see Uzo." The shout came from the next room. The woman in the apron flinched. Not dramatically, just a tiny movement. Shoulders tightened, eyes shifted. "Yes, Ma," she called. "Where is the new woman they said they were sending?" Uzo looked at Ronke. Ronke looked back. Before either of them answered, Zainab Bello appeared in the doorway. She was striking. Not because of jewelry or makeup. Because she had the kind of presence that made other people move faster. She wore tailored ruby-red trousers, a sleeveless ivory blouse, and pointed shoes. Her hair was pulled into a smooth, high ponytail. A phone sat in one hand, a folder in the other. She looked at Uzo, then at Ronke, then at the suitcase. The conclusion seemed to form in less than 2 seconds. "You're late." Ronke blinked. "Pardon?" The agency said 10. "I think there has been a misunderstanding. I came to see." "Everybody is coming to see somebody today," Zainab cut in. "Please, we don't have time." "Uzo, show her where to keep her things." Uzo opened her mouth. Zainab's phone rang. She answered immediately. "Hello, yes, I saw the mock-up. No, the gold is too yellow. It looks cheap. Make it warmer, not louder." She walked away mid-sentence. Uzo stared at Ronke. Ronke stared after Zainab. For 3 seconds, neither woman spoke. Then Uzo whispered, "Ma, are you sure they sent you from Haven Domestic?" "No," Uzo's eyes widened. "I came to see Niyi Balogun." That changed Uzo's face. Not because she suddenly knew who Ronke was, but because she knew Niyi owned the house. "Oh, yes, should I call?" "Uzo." This time, Zainab's voice was sharper. Uzo's mouth closed instantly. "I'll explain," Ronke said. Uzo hesitated, then nodded once. "Sorry, Ma. There is nothing to be sorry about." Ronke followed the corridor into the sitting room, hoping to find a quieter place to call Niyi again. That was when she sat on the sofa, and Zainab told her not to. The room froze only for Ronke. Nobody else seemed surprised. A man carrying flowers kept walking. A young woman kept polishing glasses. Uzo kept her eyes down. Ronke rose. "Excuse me," she said. "My name is Ronke Balogun. I am here to see." Zainab held up one finger because she was typing. "Please, later." Ronke's eyebrows rose. Zainab finished the message, then picked up a folded plastic package from a side table and pushed it toward her. "Uniform. Medium size. If it doesn't fit, tell Uzo." Ronke looked at the package. Then at Zainab. "What exactly do you think I came here to do?" Zainab finally looked directly at her. "House support. Temporary. Isn't that why you're here?" "No, a beat." "No? No." Zainab exhaled through her nose. "What agency?" I am not from an agency. Another beat. For the first time, uncertainty crossed Zainab's face. Ronke almost ended it there. She could have said, I am Niyi's mother. 6 words, that was all. But before she did, a crash sounded from the dining area. Glass. A woman gasped. Zainab turned. What was that? Uzo hurried forward. 1 glass, Ma. It slipped from the tray. Zainab moved toward the sound. You people have broken 3 things since morning. Ma. This is the first glass today. So yesterday does not count? It was the florist's assistant yesterday. Do you want to argue with me now? No, Ma. Ronke watched Uzo's face. That same tightening again. Small, automatic, learned. Zainab pointed toward the floor. Clean it and write it down. If things continue disappearing and breaking, I will deduct from the weekend payment. Uzo swallowed. From all of us. Maybe that will help everybody become careful. Zainab turned back toward Ronke. Sorry, what were you saying? Ronke looked from Zainab to Uzo. The younger woman was already kneeling with a dustpan. I said I'm not from an agency. Yes, I came to see Niyi. Zainab's face changed again. This time she smiled. A social smile. Not warm, but polished. Oh, are you one of his mother's church people? Ronke almost laughed. Almost. Instead, she said, something like that. Zainab nodded, as if the matter now made sense. He's not here yet. His flight was delayed. You can wait in the staff sitting area if you like. We're in chaos today. She turned away. Ronke stared at the back of her ruby-red trousers. Something like that. It was not a lie. But it was not a correction either. Ronke did not yet know why she held back. Later, she would think about that exact moment more than any other. Maybe it was Uzo's face. Maybe it was the casual way Zainab had spoken about deducting money from people before checking who broke what. Maybe it was the fact that Zainab's politeness had appeared only after she thought Ronke might know someone important. Whatever the reason, Ronke did not leave. She took out her phone and called Niyi again. No answer. Then she sat, not on the family sofa, but on a wooden chair near the kitchen doorway. From there, she could see almost everything. The house had been renovated 2 years earlier. Ronke had seen photographs when Niyi bought it, but this was her first visit since the final work was completed. Marble floors, tall windows, quiet air conditioning, art that cost too much, in her opinion. A kitchen with 2 ovens when 1 would have done. Her son had grown up in a 3-bedroom house in Ibadan, where his father repaired broken switches himself, and where every child learned to wash their own plate. Now Niyi owned a house where people could disappear into service corridors without guests ever noticing them. Ronke had never thought much about what that meant. Until that morning, Uzo brought her water. Thank you. You're welcome, Ma. Sit for 1 minute. Uzo looked toward the dining room. I can't. I'm not asking you to resign. A tiny smile escaped Uzo, then disappeared. What time did you start? 6, and when do you finish? Uzo paused. Depends. On what? On when Madam finishes. Ronke looked at the clock. It was not yet 11. How many days like this? This week is special. Wedding things. And normally? Uzo shrugged. Normally is normally. That answer told Ronke more than a complaint would have. A woman entered the kitchen carrying a crate of bottled water. She was older than Uzo, maybe late 30s. She set it down and rubbed her wrist. Uzo, where should I put the extra napkins? Second cupboard. The woman noticed Ronke. New auntie? Uzo glanced at Ronke quickly. Ronke answered before she could. Apparently. The woman laughed softly. You will survive. Then she saw Zainab entering and stopped laughing. Why is that crate there? Zainab asked. I was just asking where. You were told pantry. Yes, Ma. So why is it on my kitchen floor? Because I have only 2 hands, the woman muttered. What did you say? Nothing, Ma. Ronke watched. Zainab did not shout. That was important. she rarely shouted. Her control came from a different place. She spoke as if every instruction was obviously reasonable, and any resistance proved the other person was unserious. She knew how to make people look unreasonable for needing time, explanations, breaks, or fairness. Within an hour, Ronke saw 3 versions of the same thing. A vendor arrived with the wrong shade of ribbon. Zainab spoke to him politely, because he represented a company she might use again. A cleaner forgot to move a bucket. Zainab spoke to her as if she had committed sabotage. A caterer called to explain that traffic was slowing a delivery. Zainab said, "No problem. Safety first." 5 minutes later, she told Uzo, "If you people cannot manage time, I'll find people who can." Ronke began to understand the pattern. It was not stress alone. Stress did not choose targets that carefully. Around noon, Zainab's assistant, Titi, came in holding an iPad. The Ajayi people moved their tasting to 3. Good, that gives us time. The photographer also wants to confirm tomorrow. Tell him 4. Titi nodded, then noticed Ronke. Is that the new woman? Zainab barely looked up. Something like that. Ronke nearly smiled. Now the phrase had traveled. Titi handed Zainab the tablet. We also need to decide staff coverage for Friday. Double whoever can stay. Uzo, who was passing behind them, slowed. Zainab noticed. What? Nothing, Ma, you paused. Uzo hesitated. I just wanted to know what time Friday will end. Why? My sister has evening training. I usually pick her child. Zainab frowned. This is wedding week. Yes, Ma. So arrange yourself. Uzo's jaw tightened. I'll try. Don't try. Arrange it. Ronke felt something move inside her. Not anger exactly. Recognition. She had seen this type of authority before. Teachers who confused fear with discipline. Parents who believed paying school fees gave them the right to insult security guards. Supervisors who used the word professionalism only downward. She knew how the pattern worked. The person at the top always had a reason. Deadline, standards, pressure, clients, image. The person below had only excuses. Family, transport, illness, fatigue, children. Ronke said nothing. Not yet. At 12:30, Niyi finally sent a message. Flight landed, network rubbish. On my way soon. Have you reached? Ronke looked at the screen. Then at Zainab, then at Uzo, who was carefully counting place settings. She typed, I am here. Niyi replied almost immediately. Good. Has Zainab welcomed you? Ronke stared at that question for several seconds. Then typed. She did not add more. Niyi sent a laughing emoji. That was when Ronke knew she would stay until he arrived. Not because she wanted drama, because she no longer wanted the story filtered. Not by Zainab, not by Uzo, not even by herself. She wanted to see what happened next. At 1 o'clock, somebody brought jollof rice and grilled chicken for the vendors and planning team. The smell filled the kitchen. For 10 minutes, the house became quieter. People who had been rushing since morning finally sat where they could. Ronke expected the domestic staff to eat too. They did not. Uzo and the others kept moving plates. Ronke waited. After Zainab and Titi left the dining table, Ronke asked Uzo, When are you eating? Later. When is later? Uzo smiled without humor. Later. Ronke stood. She picked up one of the untouched takeaway packs. Uzo shook her head quickly. Ma, please, that one is for vendors. So? Staff food is in the kitchen. Ronke looked toward the kitchen. On one counter sat a covered pot and a stack of plastic bowls. She walked over. Inside the pot was rice too. Less chicken. More sauce. Nothing terrible. Nothing abusive. Just a small distinction that became meaningful because of everything else. Ronke served herself from the staff pot. Uzo watched her. You don't have to do that. I am hungry. I mean, you can wait for Mr. Niyi. My stomach does not know his net worth. Uzo laughed before she could stop herself. This time, the laugh was loud enough for Zainab to hear from the corridor. Zainab entered. "What is funny?" Uzo instantly looked down. Ronke kept eating. "I said my stomach does not know anybody's net worth." Zainab stared at her, then, surprisingly, smiled. "That one is true." For a second, the room softened. This was the first moment Ronke saw the woman Niyi probably knew. Zainab leaned against the counter and rubbed her forehead. "You have no idea what this week has been like." Ronke swallowed. "I can imagine. Every vendor thinks my wedding is the only event they have. Yet they behave as if I should beg them to do what I'm paying for. You work in events yourself? Brand experiences. Corporate, private luxury, some launches. So you know how difficult clients can be." Zainab gave a short laugh. "Exactly. And you know how difficult employers can be." The smile faded, not entirely, but enough. Zainab looked at Uzo. "Are you complaining about me?" "No, Ma." Ronke put down her spoon. "She has not complained to me." "Good." Zainab's phone vibrated. She checked it. Then the other woman appeared again. The polished version. "Excuse me, I have to take this," she answered with warmth. "Mrs. Ajayi." "Good afternoon, Ma. How are you?" As Zainab walked out, Ronke watched her shoulders relax, her voice brighten, her pace slow. The transformation was so quick it was almost impressive. Uzo whispered, "You like trouble." Ronke looked at her. "I taught teenagers for 3 decades. Trouble, and I have an understanding." Uzo smiled. Then she returned to work. A little after 1:30, a temporary waiter named Samuel arrived. He was thin, young, maybe 23, with a white shirt folded over one arm. "Good afternoon," he said. Zainab looked at the clock. "You were meant to be here at 1. "Yes, Ma, the bus broke down near Oberlende. I called the agency. I don't care about your bus." Samuel's face tightened. "Sorry. Ma, go and change." He moved. Then Zainab called after him. "And because you are late, don't write 1 o'clock on your sheet." Samuel stopped. "What time should I write?" "The time you arrived. 1:30. "Yes." He nodded. That part was fair. Ronke noticed it. She was not looking for reasons to condemn Zainab. She was looking for a pattern. Fairness mattered in both directions. But 5 minutes later, Titi came in and whispered to Zainab. "What?" "The Ajayi tasting is back to 2:30. "Fine. That means Samuel may need to stay after 6, then he stays." Titi glanced toward the service area. "The agency booked him until 6. Zainab waved a hand. "Pay the extra." "I'm not wicked." Ronke heard that too. Interesting. Zainab was willing to pay overtime when somebody reminded her. So perhaps the problem was not pure exploitation. Perhaps it was control. She wanted compliance first, details later. That distinction mattered. At 2, the florist returned with replacement ribbon. Zainab praised him. At 2:10, one of the cleaners asked if she could use the downstairs bathroom because the staff toilet upstairs was being repaired. Zainab said, "Use the one by the laundry." "It has no water, Ma." Zainab looked annoyed. "Then use upstairs. The plumber is there." "Fine. Use the guest one, but please leave it exactly as you met it." The cleaner nodded. Again, not monstrous, but the tone. Always the tone. As if granting ordinary needs was charity. Ronke began to think about Niyi. Her son was not careless. At least, he did not think he was. At 14, he had once returned home from school because a teacher slapped a junior student hard enough to split his lip. Niyi had dragged the boy to the vice principal's office. That vice principal had been Ronke. "Did you see what happened?" she asked him. "Yes." "Did he fight the teacher?" "No." "Did you?" "No, then why are you shaking?" "Because everybody saw, and nobody did anything." That boy grew into a man who built a company around movement, food, medicine, temperature-controlled goods, warehouses, routes. He liked systems. He liked dashboards. He liked knowing where every truck was. But as Ronke sat in his beautiful kitchen, watching a worker ask permission to drink from a bottle of water, she wondered how much of this household Niyi actually saw. A business could have policies. A house had habits. Habits were harder to audit. At 2:20, Zainab's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and smiled. This smile was different. Ronke knew before she heard the name. Baby. Niyi. Ronke looked down at her food. Yes. I'm at the house. No, everything is under control. Zainab walked toward the window. Your mother? No, I haven't seen her. Ronke's spoon stopped. Uzo, standing across the room, looked at her. Zainab continued. I've asked security twice. Maybe she changed her mind. A pause. No, don't worry. She'll come. Ronke heard only Zainab's side. Then Zainab laughed. Of course I'm nervous. She's your mother. Another pause. I know. She's not difficult. Ronke nearly choked on her rice. Uzo had to look away to hide her smile. Zainab continued. I just want her to like me. That sentence landed harder than any insult. Ronke looked at the young woman's back. There was sincerity in her voice. Real sincerity. She wanted Ronke to like her. She simply did not know she was speaking within 6 meters of her. Niyi must have asked something else because Zainab said, No, there's only staff here and vendors. Ronke set her spoon down. Only staff. The phrase was casual, probably unconscious. Those were often the phrases worth hearing. Zainab ended the call and turned. For a moment, she looked almost vulnerable. Then she saw Uzo still standing near the counter. Why are you there? I was waiting for the tray. It is in front of you. Yes, Ma. Then move. The softness disappeared. Ronke finished eating. She washed her own bowl. Uzo tried to take it from her. Ronke moved it away. My hands have not retired, Ma, if Madam sees. Let Madam see a woman wash a bowl. It may not kill anybody. Uzo gave up. You are definitely not from any agency. Noba, are you related to Mr. Niyi? Ronke rinsed the bowl. Why do you ask? The way you talk. How do people related to him talk? Like they are not afraid. Ronke dried the bowl slowly. That answer disturbed her. What are you afraid of? Uzo looked toward the door. Nothing. That is not what you just said. Uzo was silent. Ronke did not push. Teachers learned that too. Some people speak when questions stop chasing them. After a while, Uzo said, This job is through an agency. Madam can say she doesn't want you again. If they hear too many complaints, they stop calling you for the good houses. Has that happened? Not to me. But you worry it can. Uzo nodded. My younger sister is doing hairdressing training. I help with her child. Rent is not waiting for anybody. Ronke leaned against the counter. Do you like the work? It is work. That was not my question. Uzo smiled faintly. I like some parts. I don't like being spoken to as if I am stupid. There it was. Small. Clear. Ronke did not turn it into a speech. She simply nodded. I understand. At 2:30, the Ajayi family arrived for tasting. They came with 2 women, 1 man, and a young bride who looked exhausted before she entered. Zainab changed again. Warm voice, open hands, easy laughter. She remembered that Mrs. Ajayi preferred sparkling water without ice. She complimented the bride's shoes. She moved a chair herself when the older woman wanted more space. Ronke watched from the edge of the dining room while helping Uzo carry glasses. She had put on the pale turquoise uniform. That decision had taken 10 minutes. When Uzo showed her the spare changing room and the folded outfit, Ronke stood looking at it. You don't have to, Uzo said. I know. Then why? Ronke touched the fabric. It was clean. Simple. Pale turquoise with cream piping. Because if I leave now, I will only know what happened to me. Uzo frowned. Ronke looked at her. I want to understand what happens to you. Uzo's expression changed. Almost fear. Ma, please. Don't do anything because of me. I am not doing anything yet. Ronke changed. The uniform fit badly at the shoulders, too loose. She rolled the sleeves once. When she stepped out, Uzo shook her head. "You look like somebody's head mistress pretending in school drama." Ronke laughed. "That is because I was somebody's vice principal." Uzo stared. "You were? For too long, ah." Ronke put one finger to her lips. Uzo smiled. Then they went back to work. The tasting lasted 40 minutes. Nothing dramatic happened. That was useful. Ronke saw Zainab at her best. She listened. She solved problems. When the caterer admitted a sauce was too salty, Zainab did not embarrass him. She asked for another batch. When the bride changed her mind about a menu item for the third time, Zainab did not roll her eyes. She adjusted the sheet. When Mrs. Ajayi complained about a supplier Zainab had recommended months earlier, Zainab took responsibility. "I connected you. Let me call him. No excuses. No cruelty." Ronke found herself unsettled. It would have been easier if Zainab were awful to everyone. Then the moral would be simple, but she was not. She was competent, capable of patience, capable of respect, capable of accountability. Selective character was harder to excuse than bad temper, because it meant the good behavior was available, just not equally distributed. After the guests left, Zainab stood in the doorway, smiling until their car disappeared. Then she turned around. Her face changed. "Why are there fingerprints on these glasses?" Samuel looked over. "Which one, Ma?" "This one." She held it up. "I polished them." "Then your polishing is useless." Samuel walked closer. "It may be from when I carried them." Zainab stared. "That is the point." Ronke saw Samuel's jaw tighten. Zainab continued. "Do it again. Do it again. Yes, Ma. And all of them, since we cannot know which ones you touched." Samuel looked at the tray. 24 glasses. He said nothing. Ronke said, "A cloth would solve the fingerprints." Zainab turned slowly. "I'm sorry?" "I said a cloth would solve it. I heard you. I'm asking why you are involved." Ronke met her eyes. "Because you are making one fingerprint become 24 punishments." Titi looked down at her tablet. Uzo froze. Samuel stopped breathing. Zainab gave a small laugh. "You are new here." "Yes. So maybe learn before you advise." "I am learning." "Good." Zainab handed the glass to Samuel. Again, Samuel took it. Ronke said nothing else. But Zainab had noticed her now, not as a person, as friction. That changed the atmosphere. For the next hour, Ronke was given tasks directly. "Take these upstairs. Bring the tea tray. Move those cushions. Wipe that table." Nothing degrading. Nothing beyond normal domestic work. Ronke did each one. She was 61, not helpless. She carried cushions. She wiped the table. She took tea upstairs. What she noticed was how Zainab gave instructions. No please downward. Plenty of please upward. No names unless she was correcting someone. Plenty of names for clients. At 3:30, a delivery man arrived with 2 boxes of candles. Zainab checked them. Wrong size. The man looked at his invoice. "Madam, this is what was ordered." "No, we changed it. I didn't receive any change." Titi pulled up the email. They checked. Zainab had sent the change to the wrong supplier. For the first time all afternoon, Zainab was clearly at fault. Ronke watched closely. Zainab stared at the email, then at the man. Then she inhaled. "My mistake." The delivery man blinked. Zainab continued. "I sent it to the wrong address. Leave these. I'll take responsibility with the client." That simple sentence surprised Ronke. "My mistake." So she could say it. She simply did not say it often to people inside the house. The delivery man left relieved. Ronke wondered whether Zainab would ever extend the same grace downward. She did not have to wait long. At 4, a cream-colored decorative lantern fell near the rear veranda. The sound was not loud. Metal against tile. A sharp clang, then the crack of one glass panel. Uzo was carrying folded napkins nearby. Ronke was standing behind her with a tray of empty cups. A wedding vendor named Kola had been moving a long stand through the narrow passage. The base clipped the lantern. It fell. Kola stopped. "Ah, sorry." He set down the stand. Uzo turned. Ronke saw everything. Kola bent toward the lantern. Zainab came from the sitting room. "What happened?" Kola stood. "Sorry, madam." The stand touched it. Before he could say more, his phone rang. He looked at the screen. "My driver is at the gate. Let me tell him where to park." He stepped outside. Zainab looked at the lantern, then at Uzo. "You." Uzo's face changed. "Ma? How many times have I said, clear this passage? I cleared it. So how did this fall?" The vendor's stand touched it. Zainab looked toward the door. Kola was outside. "You were standing here." "Yes, because I was passing. So you saw it and did nothing. It happened fast." Zainab crouched beside the broken panel. This was rented. Uzo's grip tightened around the napkins. "Ma, I didn't break it. I didn't say you used your hand to break it. I said you were responsible for the area. That is not the same thing." The room went still. It was the first time Ronke had heard Uzo contradict her directly. Zainab stood. "Excuse me?" Uzo's courage almost disappeared. "But not completely. The vendor hit it, Ma. And you left it where it could be hit. It was placed there by the decorator." "Enough." Zainab turned to Titi. "Write it down." Uzo's face drained. "Write what?" "Damage." "Under my name?" "Yes." "No, Ma." The words came out quietly. Zainab stared at her. Uzo swallowed. "Please." "No, I did not break it. You were responsible for that section. Kola put the stand through there. And you could not say, 'Be careful.' I was carrying things." Zainab's voice hardened. "This is what I cannot stand. Nobody takes responsibility. Everybody has a story." Ronke set down her tray, then listened to the correct story. Zainab turned. Ronke stepped closer. "I was standing here. So? The vendor's stand hit the lantern. I heard that. Then why are you putting the damage under Uzo?" "Because she was responsible for the area." "No. She was carrying napkins through the area." Zainab's eyes narrowed. "You seem to have plenty to say. When something is wrong, yes. Wrong? Yes." Zainab laughed once. Not because anything was funny. "Madam, please remember you started here today." "I remember. You don't know how this house runs." "I am learning quickly," Uzo whispered. "Ma, please." Ronke ignored her. Zainab folded her arms. "Do you know how much that lantern costs?" "No, then maybe you don't understand why I expect care. What it costs does not change who broke it." Zainab's face went very still. Ronke continued. "If you want to charge somebody, charge the person responsible. If you want to speak to Uzo about where items were placed, speak to her. Those are not the same thing." Titi shifted awkwardly. Samuel stopped polishing. The older cleaner had appeared near the doorway. Too many eyes. Zainab noticed. That made things worse. Everybody back to work. Nobody moved immediately. Now they scattered. Uzo stayed. Zainab pointed toward the kitchen. "You too." Uzo looked at Ronke. "Go," Ronke said. Uzo went. Zainab waited until the others were farther away. Then she stepped closer to Ronke. "Who exactly are you?" Ronke almost answered again. This time there was no reason not to. But before she could, Kola came back through the door. "Sorry, madam, about the lantern." Zainab turned. "You broke it?" Kola nodded. "Yes, my stand caught the edge. Send me the rental charge." Silence. Titi looked at Zainab. Ronke looked at Zainab. For a moment, Zainab had nowhere to go. She could say the words she had said to the delivery man. "My mistake." Instead, she said, "Fine. Be more careful." Kola nodded. "Sorry." He walked away. Uzo had stopped just inside the kitchen. She had heard. Zainab looked at her, then at Ronke. No apology came. Ronke felt something settle. Not anger. Certainty. This was not about standards. Standards corrected themselves when facts changed. This was pride. Zainab picked up her phone. Uzo, clear this glass. Uzo walked over. Ronke said, she deserves an apology. Zainab's head snapped up. Excuse me, you accused her. I questioned her. You told Titi to record damage under her name, and I have changed it. You have not said you were wrong. Zainab gave a short, disbelieving laugh. This is my house. Ronke looked around. No, Zainab's face hardened. Ronke knew exactly what she had said. Technically, the house belonged to Niyi, but that was not the point she meant. Still, the sentence landed differently. What did you say? I said ownership does not change the facts. Zainab stepped closer. I think you should leave. Uzo whispered. Ma, Zainab lifted a hand. No, I have been patient. I don't know who recommended this woman, but this attitude is not acceptable. Ronke's heartbeat remained steady. You want me to leave because I said you blamed the wrong person? I want you to leave because you are insubordinate. I am not your employee. Then why are you wearing my uniform? That is a fair question. Zainab stared. Ronke almost smiled. At last, they were close to the truth. Then Zainab's phone rang again. She looked at the screen. Niyi. The timing was almost absurd, she answered. Hi. Her voice softened immediately. Ronke watched. Yes, baby. Are you close? A pause. Good. Another pause. No. Still no sign of your mum. Ronke's eyes moved to Uzo. Uzo's hand flew to her mouth. Zainab kept talking. I'm sure she'll come. Ronke could have ended everything with one sentence. Instead, she waited. Zainab listened, then said, There is one issue with the new temporary woman. Very rude. I'm sending her away. Ronke looked at her. Zainab met her eyes while speaking to Niyi. Yes, I know. I'll handle it. She ended the call. He'll be here in 15 minutes, she said. Please take your bag and go. Ronke tilted her head. 15 minutes? Yes. I can wait 15 minutes. No, why? Because I said so. Ronke glanced at Uzo. Before I go, settle her pay correctly. Zainab's face went blank. What? The lantern is not hers. Remove any deduction. I already changed it. And the other deductions? Zainab's eyes sharpened. What other deductions? Uzo went pale. Ronke looked at her. Uzo? Ma, please. Zainab turned. What have you been telling her? Nothing, Ma. Then what is she talking about? Ronke answered. Broken items. Group deductions. Extra hours. Zainab stared at Uzo. I asked you a question. Uzo's hands trembled. I didn't tell her anything. Ronke stepped between the question and the fear. She did not complain to me. Then how do you know? I have ears. Zainab laughed sharply. Oh, please, and eyes. This is ridiculous. No. What is ridiculous is thinking people do not notice because the people affected are afraid to talk. Zainab's jaw set. Take off the uniform. Ronke looked down at the pale turquoise dress, then back up. No, Zainab blinked. What? I will return it after I change, when Niyi gets here. You will not still be here when Niyi gets here. Ronke's voice stayed calm. I think I will. Zainab's patience broke, not into screaming, into contempt. She looked Ronke up and down. People like you always become brave when somebody else is paying your salary. The words sat in the room, heavy, ugly. Uzo closed her eyes. Titi looked away. Ronke did not move. She simply asked, people like me? Zainab realized, perhaps too late, how it sounded. But pride carried her forward. Yes. People who come into somebody's house and suddenly think they understand everything after a few hours. Ronke nodded once. That is clearer. A car horn sounded outside the gate. Then another. Footsteps came from the front entrance. Zainab exhaled. Her entire posture changed. She smoothed her blouse. Titi, please take those folders upstairs. Then she looked at Ronke. Go to the kitchen. I will deal with this after. Ronke did not move. The front door opened. Niyi Balogun walked in with a laptop bag over one shoulder and his suit jacket in one hand. He was tall like his father had been, with the same habit of frowning when entering a noisy room. "Niyi," Zainab called. She crossed the room quickly. He smiled. "Hey!" She hugged him. He kissed her forehead. Then his eyes moved past her, to the broken lantern, to Uzo, to Titi, to the older woman in pale turquoise. His face changed. Not dramatically. First confusion, then recognition, then disbelief. "Mum?" Nobody breathed. Zainab's arms loosened around him. Niyi stared at Ronke's uniform. "Mum?" Ronke looked at her son. "You took your time." His mouth opened, closed. He looked at Zainab, then back at Ronke. "Why are you dressed like?" Zainab stepped away from him. Her face had lost all color beneath her makeup. "This," she looked at Ronke, then Niyi, then Ronke again. "This is your mother?" Niyi did not answer immediately. He was still trying to understand. "Yes." The word came out slowly. "This is my mother." Uzo lowered her head. Titi stared at the floor. Somewhere in the kitchen, a tap continued running. Zainab made a small sound. No, not denial. Shock. Then, almost instantly, panic. "Ma." Ronke watched her. It was the first time Zainab had called her that with meaning. "Ma, I am so sorry." Ronke said nothing. Zainab stepped closer. "I didn't know." And there it was. The sentence at the center of everything. "I didn't know." Ronke looked at her for a long moment. Then she asked, very quietly, "If you had known, what would you have done differently?" Zainab stared at Ronke. The question seemed simple. It was not. Her mouth opened. No answer came. Niyi looked from one woman to the other. "Mum, what happened?" Ronke still watched Zainab. "I asked her a question." Niyi dropped his laptop bag onto a chair. "What question?" Ronke repeated it. "If she had known who I was, what would she have done differently?" Zainab swallowed. "Everything." The answer came too quickly. Ronke's face did not change. "Exactly." Niyi frowned. "I don't understand." Zainab turned to him. "It was a misunderstanding. Your mum came in through the service side, and we were expecting a temporary worker. And I thought—" "You thought what?" "I thought she was the woman from the agency." Niyi looked at Ronke's uniform again. "And you put her in uniform? I didn't force her." "That was true," Ronke said. "She did not." Niyi looked relieved for half a second. Then Ronke added, "She tried to send me away." The relief vanished. Zainab's words began to rush. "Because she was arguing with me in front of staff." "I didn't know she was your mother, Niyi." "I thought she was." She stopped herself. Ronke waited. "A maid?" Ronke supplied. Zainab closed her eyes for one brief second. "Yes." Niyi rubbed a hand over his face. "This cannot be real." Ronke almost felt sorry for him. He had been traveling since morning. His shirt was creased at the shoulder. He looked tired. He had walked into his own house, expecting to introduce the two most important women in his life, and instead found one wearing a maid's uniform while the other apologized. It would have been easy for Ronke to make the scene about herself. She could have listed every insult. She could have demanded that Niyi choose. She could have turned wounded motherhood into a weapon. She refused. "Niyi," she said, "before you start reacting, ask what happened." He looked at her. "I am asking, not me alone." Ronke nodded toward Uzo. Zainab's face tightened. "No, this is between us." Ronke turned. "No, that is the problem." Niyi looked at Uzo. The young woman looked as if she wanted the marble floor to open. "Uzo?" "Yes, sir." "What happened?" "Sir." Zainab cut in. "Niyi, she has been working. She doesn't need to be dragged into family issues." Ronke said, "She was already in the issue before you came home." Zainab shot her a look. Niyi noticed. His expression changed. He stepped back from both women. "Everybody stop." The room obeyed him instantly. That, Ronke thought, was power too. Different style, same effect. Niyi looked at Zainab. "Did Mum hit you?" Zainab blinked. "What? No." "Did she damage anything?" "No. Threaten anybody?" "No." "Then why were you sending her away?" She was undermining me. How? Zainab exhaled. She kept interfering with staff management. Ronke nodded once. That is accurate. Niyi looked at her. Mum. I said it is accurate. I interfered. Why? Because she was blaming Uzo for something Uzo did not break. Zainab threw up one hand, and I corrected it. Ronke looked at her. After the vendor returned and admitted it, Niyi's eyes moved to Uzo. Is that true? Uzo hesitated. Zainab said, Niyi. He lifted one hand. Please. His voice was not loud. Zainab stopped. Niyi looked at Uzo again. Speak freely. Uzo's eyes flicked toward Zainab. That movement was small. Niyi saw it. Ronke saw him see it. Yes, sir, Uzo said. What happened? The decorator's man hit the lantern with a stand. Madam thought it was me, Mrs. She looked at Ronke, unsure what to call her. Mrs. Balogun, Ronke said. Mrs. Balogun saw it. She said it was not me. Then the man came back and said he did it. And after that, Uzo swallowed. Nothing, sir, Ronke said. That is not an answer. Uzo looked down. Niyi's voice softened. Uzo, you are not in trouble. That phrase did something to her. Her shoulders dropped by perhaps 1 centimeter. No apology, sir. Zainab made a frustrated sound. So this is about an apology now? Ronke turned to her. No, it is about whether facts matter only when they protect your pride. Zainab stared. Niyi closed his eyes briefly. Mum, please. Ronke stopped, not because he had silenced her, because he needed space. Niyi picked up his laptop bag. Okay, everybody go back to what you were doing. Uzo, Titi, Samuel, finish whatever you need to finish for today. No one is leaving because of this conversation. He looked at Zainab. You and I will talk. Then at Ronke. You too. Ronke raised an eyebrow. I came to talk. Niyi nearly laughed despite himself. Nearly. Please change first. Ronke looked down at the uniform. Gladly. She went upstairs with Uzo to the small changing room. For the first minute, neither woman spoke. Ronke removed the pale turquoise uniform and folded it carefully. Uzo stood near the doorway. Then she said, I am sorry. Ronke looked up. For what? If I had told her immediately, you did try. I should have insisted. Why? Because. Uzo stopped. Ronke waited. Because now everything is scattered. Ronke shook her head. No, things were scattered before I arrived. We are only seeing the pieces. Uzo looked at her. You are really his mother. I have been for 38 years. It is too late to resign. Uzo smiled weakly. Then worry returned. Will I lose my job? Ronke's hands stopped on the folded uniform. I cannot promise what I do not control. Uzo nodded. But I can tell you this. Do not lie to protect me. Do not exaggerate to punish her. Tell exactly what happened. Nothing more. Uzo studied Ronke's face. You don't want him to leave her? That is his decision. But after what she did to you. Ronke put on her aqua blouse. What she did to me is the least useful part of what happened today. Uzo frowned. Ronke buttoned one sleeve. She was cruel because she thought I was ordinary. Then she became sorry because she learned I was not. That tells me something. But it is still not my marriage. What if he asks you? I will answer what I saw. And what do you think? Ronke paused. I think a person should not need to discover somebody's surname before discovering their manners. Uzo looked down. Ronke picked up the uniform. And I think my son has questions to ask himself too. Uzo looked surprised. Him? Yes, but he didn't do anything. That can also be a problem. Downstairs, Niyi had taken Zainab into his study. The door was closed. Ronke did not listen outside. She returned the uniform to the laundry room, then sat at the breakfast table. For the first time all day, nobody told her where to sit. Titi entered carrying her iPad. She stopped when she saw Ronke. Ma. Ronke nodded. Titi. The assistant looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry about earlier. You did not insult me. I still should have known. How? Titi blinked. Ronke gestured toward the chair opposite her. Sit. Titi hesitated, then sat. How should you have known? Ronke asked. I don't know. Exactly. Titi looked down. Ronke continued. You are all saying sorry because you did not recognize me. That is not the useful lesson. Titi's fingers tightened around the iPad. I understand. Do you? Titi looked up. Ronke did not accuse her. She simply waited. After a while, Titi said, Sometimes I see things. What things? How Madam talks to staff. And I tell myself it is not my business. Why? Because I work for her. That is a reason. Titi nodded. And because she is good to me. Ronke leaned back. That is a better answer. Titi looked surprised. Better, more honest. Silence. From the study came no shouting. That was almost worse. Niyi and Zainab were speaking quietly. Titi looked toward the door. She loves him. Ronke looked at her. I did not say she doesn't. She really does. I believe you. Titi frowned, as if that answer made things more complicated. It did. People preferred villains who felt nothing. They were easier to discard. But love did not cancel character. A person could love one human being deeply and still treat another badly. The difficult question was whether that love had enough humility inside it to change. The study door opened after 20 minutes. Zainab came out first. Her eyes were dry, her face was controlled. Niyi followed. He looked older than he had when he walked in. Titi, can you give us the room? Yes. Titi stood. Zainab said, and please pause tomorrow's photographer meeting. Titi nodded. What reason? Just say personal issue. Yes. She left. Niyi sat opposite Ronke. Zainab remained standing. Ronke looked at the empty chair beside him. Sit down. Zainab hesitated, then sat. For a few seconds, they were just 3 adults at a table. No uniforms, no staff, no spectators. Niyi spoke first. Zainab says she made a wrong assumption when you arrived. Yes, she says you tried to tell her you came to see me. Yes. Zainab looked at Ronke. I didn't hear you properly. Ronke nodded. That is possible. Zainab seemed surprised by the concession. Ronke continued. You were busy. I was very busy. I saw. Niyi looked between them. Mum, did she call you names? No. Did she refuse you food? No. Did she physically threaten you? Zainab's shoulders eased slightly. Then Ronke said, None of those things is the issue. The shoulders tightened again. Niyi leaned forward. Then what is? Ronke looked at her son. You know me. I do not want to run your marriage. I know. I did not come here to inspect Zainab. I know. I did not wear that uniform because I planned a trick. Zainab looked away. Ronke noticed. You think I did? Zainab looked back. I don't know what to think. That is fair. So, let me tell you exactly. Ronke explained the morning. No embellishment. The service entrance. The expected temporary worker. The interrupted introduction. The sofa. The uniform. The group deduction comment. The extra hours. The glass polishing. The lantern. She even included the things Zainab had done well. The late waiter whose timesheet was adjusted correctly. The overtime that Zainab said should be paid. The delivery error Zainab admitted. The bathroom she eventually allowed a cleaner to use. Niyi listened without interrupting. Zainab stared at Ronke. Finally she said, Why are you telling him the good parts? Ronke looked at her. Because truth is not punishment. The sentence quieted the room. Ronke continued. If I only tell him the things that make you look bad, then I am doing exactly what I am accusing you of doing. Deciding the conclusion first, then arranging the facts under it. Niyi looked down. Zainab's expression shifted. For the first time, not fear. Something closer to shame. Ronke saw it. She did not pounce. Niyi, she said, I am going upstairs to rest. He looked up. We haven't finished. You have not even started. What do you mean? This cannot be solved by asking me whether she was rude to your mother. Niyi leaned back. Ronke stood. If all you discover is that your fiancé insulted the wrong woman, you have discovered nothing. She looked at Zainab. Talk to the people who work here. Then she turned to her son. Not while she is standing beside you. Niyi's face tightened. Mum, that is not an accusation. It is how you get honest answers when there is a power difference. Years in school administration had taught her that much. You did not ask a student whether a teacher bullied them, while the teacher stood 3 steps away. You did not ask a junior employee whether a supervisor was fair with the supervisor listening. People adjusted their truth around consequences. Ronke walked away. Upstairs, Niyi had prepared the guest room for her. Fresh sheets, water, a framed photograph of him and his father on one side table. Ronke closed the door, sat on the bed, and finally allowed herself to feel tired. Her hands hurt. Not badly. Just enough to remind her that carrying trays at 61 was different from carrying files at 31. She rubbed her wrist. Then her phone rang. Her younger sister, Bissy. Ronke looked at the screen. She almost ignored it, then answered. Hello. Have you reached? Yes. How is the famous bride? Ronke stared at the ceiling. Complicated. Bissy laughed. That means you don't like her. I did not say that. You said complicated. You only use that word when you are trying not to judge. Ronke smiled, despite herself. Mind your business. You are my business. No, has Niyi come? Yes. Good, put me on video. Let me greet them. Not now. Bissy went quiet. What happened? Ronke looked at her hand. Nothing I want to discuss before people involved have finished discussing it. Bissy groaned. Vice Principal, goodbye. Ronke. She ended the call. Then she lay back. Downstairs. Niyi began asking questions. He started with Uzo, not in the study, on the back veranda. Zainab was upstairs in their bedroom. Niyi told Uzo clearly that her work status would not change because of what she said. Then he asked something Ronke had not told him to ask. When did this start? Uzo looked at him. What, sir? The deductions, the late hours. Whatever you think I need to know. Uzo rubbed her fingers together. Sir, not everything is bad. Niyi nodded. Tell me both, that mattered, Uzo began. Zainab had taken over direct coordination of household staff 3 months earlier after wedding planning intensified. Before that, the house administrator handled schedules and wages through the agency. Zainab wanted tighter control because guests and vendors were coming more often. At first, staff liked it. She noticed mistakes quickly. She bought better cleaning supplies. She increased the lunch allowance. She replaced a broken washing machine after Uzo mentioned it once. Niyi felt some of the tightness in his chest ease. Then Uzo continued. Zainab also began changing schedules by WhatsApp late at night. She sometimes expected people to remain after booked hours. When items were damaged and responsibility was unclear, she threatened deductions. Not every threatened deduction happened. Some did. When workers questioned her, she sometimes told the agency they had attitude. 2 people stopped getting shifts at the house. Were they bad workers? Niyi asked. Uzo thought. One was, and the other? Uzo looked away. She argued. About what? Her transport after late work. Niyi rubbed his forehead. What did she want? She wanted a car home if she finished after 10. Did she get one? No. Why? I don't know, sir. He did know one thing. His company paid late shift transport for some warehouse staff. Not because he was a saint. Because it was sensible. Because people working late had to get home. He had approved that policy years ago after a supervisor raised the issue. Yet in his own home, he had never asked. That thought stung. Do you have records of the deductions? Uzo stiffened. Sir, not secret recordings. I mean pay messages, schedules, anything normal. Yes, agency sends statements. Do you still have them? Yes. Don't send anything to me yet. Uzo blinked. Sir? I want the administrator here too. I don't want this to become you against Zainab. Relief moved across her face. Okay, sir. Who is the administrator? Mr. Johnson. I know him. Niyi checked the time. Call him. Ask if he can come tomorrow morning. Tell him I requested it. Yes, sir. Then Niyi spoke to Samuel. Samuel had only worked at the house 4 times. He said Zainab was demanding but usually paid agreed amounts. He had not personally lost money. She talks anyhow sometimes, he said, then looked terrified that he had said it. Niyi asked, How? Samuel hesitated, like if you make one mistake, you are useless. Did she call you useless? No, sir, not that word. Then don't use it as a quote. Samuel looked relieved. Niyi wrote nothing down. He listened. The older cleaner, Grace, had worked there longer. She told him something different. Madam is not bad. Niyi looked at her. Okay. She can be good. I believe you. She paid for my medication one time. Niyi paused. What medication? Malaria drugs. I was sick. She paid? Yes, and she still speaks harshly to you? Grace gave a tired smile. Human beings are not one thing, sir. The sentence sounded like something his mother would say. Niyi sat back. Grace continued. She likes things correct. But sometimes, if she is angry, she talks as if because we work here, we have no sense. Have you told her? No, sir. Why? Would you? That question embarrassed him more than accusation would have. He looked toward the upper windows. No, he admitted. Grace nodded. That is why. By evening, Niyi had heard enough to know 2 things. First, his mother had not invented a pattern. Second, the pattern was not as simple as cruelty. Zainab had improved some conditions. She had helped people privately. She paid some extra hours. She also used fear, used uncertainty, used access to shifts as pressure, used humiliation when frustrated. It was a mixture. Mixtures were harder than monsters. At 7, Niyi found Zainab in their bedroom. She had changed out of the ruby-red trousers into a deep emerald dress. She sat on the edge of the bed. Wedding invitation samples spread beside her. For several minutes, he stood in the doorway. She did not look up. Finally, she said, How many people did you interview? He winced at the word. 3. Interview. I spoke to them. You interviewed my staff about me. Our staff. She looked up. Now they are our staff? The question hit. He took it. You're right. Zainab laughed without humor. Am I? Yes. I should have been paying more attention before today. That was not the answer she expected. Her face shifted. So now this is your fault? Partly. Niyi, please. I gave you control of the household budget because I was busy. I signed off on money. I didn't check how schedules were working. You're not serious. I am. She stood. No, you are doing that thing. What thing? That CEO thing. Turning a relationship into a process review. He almost smiled. Maybe. This is not one of your warehouses. No, I am your fiancé. Yes. And your mother walked into this house, allowed me to believe she was a maid, wore a uniform, watched me all day, and now, somehow, I am the one being reviewed. Niyi looked at her. She says she tried to tell you. She did not say, I am your fiancé's mother. No. So why not? I don't know. I know. Zainab's eyes flashed, because she wanted to test me. Niyi shook his head. You don't know that. Come on. She told me she didn't, and you believe her because she's your mother. I believe the facts I can check. Zainab crossed her arms. What facts? That you thought she was the new worker. Yes. That you interrupted her when she tried to explain. I was busy. That you told her where staff should sit. Zainab's jaw tightened. That you nearly charged Uzo for a lantern she didn't break. I changed that. After the vendor admitted it, she looked away. Niyi continued. That there have been other deductions. Legitimate deductions. Some may be. Maybe? I'm checking tomorrow. Zainab stared at him. Checking? Yes, with who? Johnson. The agency records. The schedules. She laughed. A harsh sound. You are auditing me. I am trying to understand what happened in my house. Your house. He heard it. Too late. I didn't mean. Yes, you did, Zainab. No. It's fine. Your house, your mother, your staff, your money. That is not what I mean. Then what do you mean? He stepped closer. I mean, we are getting married in 3 weeks. Today I found out there is a part of your life I have not seen properly. She stared at him. A part of my life? How you manage people who depend on you. Her eyes filled. Not with tears yet, with injury. You think I am some kind of monster. No, you do no. Your mother does. I don't think she does either. Zainab laughed again. She asked me why I was apologizing to her. Niyi was quiet. She looked at me as if I was dirt. She did not. You weren't there. No, I was there when you apologized. Zainab turned away. He took a breath. Why did you apologize? She looked back. What kind of question is that? Answer. Because she is your mother. And if she wasn't? Zainab froze. The same question, different voice. She looked at him for a long time, then said, if she wasn't your mother, she would have been a rude employee. She wasn't your employee. I thought she was. Would that have made the way you spoke okay? Zainab's face hardened. You know what? I am tired. So am I. I have spent 6 months arranging this wedding while you fly from city to city. I deal with vendors, your relatives, guests, your house, your schedules. Everybody needs something. Everybody calls me. Everybody expects perfection. And today, one stressful day is suddenly a character trial. One day, she looked away. Niyi's stomach tightened. That is what I am trying to find out. She picked up an invitation card. Her hands shook. This wedding is in 3 weeks. I know. My clients know. My family knows. Your board people know. Half of Lagos knows. That cannot decide what we do. Easy for you to say. Why? Because people forgive men for broken engagements. They ask women what they did wrong. Niyi paused. That was true enough to hurt. He sat on the bed. Then let them ask me. She looked at him. I will answer. For the first time that evening, her anger cracked. You would really embarrass me like that? This is not about embarrassing you. It will be. I know. You don't know. He looked at her. Then help me know. She sat again, farther from him. For a long time, they said nothing. Finally, Niyi asked, did you threaten to report staff to the agency when they questioned you? Sometimes. Why? Because some people are difficult. Which people? I don't remember every incident. Do you remember the woman who asked for transport after 10? Zainab's eyes moved. So she remembered. What about her? Did you tell the agency not to send her back? She was disrespectful. What did she say? She said she would leave at her agreed time if transport was not arranged. Niyi stared at her. That is disrespect? It was the way she said it. What way? Don't do this. I'm asking, she said. Madam, I cannot risk my safety because of your wedding. In front of everybody. Niyi felt something cold in his chest. What happened? I told the agency I didn't want her again. Did you arrange transport for the others who stayed? Silence. Zainab. Not that night. Why? I forgot. He looked away. That was the first moment he became afraid. Not angry. Afraid. Because forgetting was possible, but punishing the person who reminded you was a choice. He stood. I'm sleeping in the guest room. Zainab's head lifted. Niyi. I need space. You cannot do this. I'm not ending anything tonight. Then stay. I can't. Tears finally came. One slid down her cheek. He hated seeing it. He loved her. That fact remained stubbornly alive. He wanted to cross the room, hold her, tell her tomorrow would fix everything. But that would be another kind of cowardice. He went to the door. Zainab said, Your mother has won. Niyi turned. This is not a competition. She came here, and within 1 day. My mother did not tell that worker to leave late without transport. Zainab flinched. She did not tell the agency not to send her back. Silence. She did not create this. Niyi opened the door. Behind him, Zainab whispered, "You were happy before she came." He stopped. That sentence stayed with him. Because it was true. He had been happy, but happiness built on missing information was not proof that the information should remain missing. The house woke early the next morning. Not because anybody had slept well. Ronke came downstairs at 6:30 and found Niyi already in the kitchen, making tea badly. He had always made tea badly. Too much milk. Too little patience. She watched him pour it. "You still pour milk before tasting." He looked over his shoulder. "Good morning to you too. Good morning." He handed her a cup. She tasted it. Terrible. He leaned against the counter. "You could say thank you. I raised you to survive truth." For the first time since he arrived, Niyi smiled properly. It lasted only a second. Then his face settled. "Mum, why didn't you tell her immediately?" Ronke held the warm cup. There it was. The question he had a right to ask. "I tried. I know. But later. When she thought you were staff. When she gave you the uniform. Why didn't you just say it?" Ronke looked at him. "I asked myself that last night. And I don't have one clean answer." Niyi waited. Ronke took another sip. "Part of me was irritated. That I can understand. Part of me was curious." He frowned. "That sounds like a test." "No, a test is planned. This was not planned. I did not create the situation." "But you continued it." "Yes. Why?" She looked toward the service corridor. "Because by the time I could easily end the misunderstanding, I had seen Uzo become afraid over a broken glass. I wanted to know whether what I saw was a bad moment or a pattern." Niyi's jaw tightened. "You could have called me." "I did, my phone was off." "Yes. You could have told Zainab." "I could have." He waited. Ronke did not dodge. "I chose not to." Niyi looked down at the counter. "Do you think that was fair?" Ronke considered it. "Not entirely." His eyes lifted. She continued. "I think staying gave me information I would not have received if she knew who I was. That information matters. But I also think I allowed the misunderstanding longer than necessary." Niyi nodded slowly. "That is what bothers me." "It should." Ronke set down her cup. "Do not turn me into the perfect person in this story, Niyi." "I am not," he looked at her. "She thinks you trapped her." "I did not trap her. But I did choose not to remove the curtain once I saw what was behind it." "That is almost the same thing." "No." Ronke's voice sharpened for the first time. "No. If I had arranged to come dressed as staff, lied about my identity, asked Uzo to cooperate, created tasks, provoked Zainab, then yes, that would be a trap. I did none of those things." Niyi held her gaze. Ronke continued. "I arrived. She assumed. I tried twice to explain and was cut off. After that, I made a choice. You can question the choice. You should. But do not change the facts." Niyi exhaled. "Fair." Ronke nodded. "That word will do." He pushed away from the counter. "Johnson is coming at 8. The administrator?" "Yes, and the agency?" "I asked for the relevant statements. Nothing secret, just the records we should already have." Ronke raised an eyebrow. "We?" Niyi grimaced. "You are enjoying this?" "A little." He rubbed his face. "Mum." "What?" "I feel stupid." "Why?" "This is my house." "Yes, I thought everything was fine." "That is how most neglected problems look from upstairs." Niyi looked at her. "Did you rehearse that?" "No." "It sounds rehearsed. Then maybe I should charge you." He almost smiled again, then grew serious. "I don't want to overreact because you're my mother." "Good." "I also don't want to underreact because I'm afraid people will say I chose my mother over my fiancé." "Also good. So what do I do?" Ronke looked at him for a long moment. Then she picked up her tea. "You are 38 years old. That is not an answer. It is exactly the answer." "Mum." "You want me to tell you whether to marry her." He said nothing. "I will not." "What if I ask?" I will tell you what I saw. I will tell you what I think it means. I will not choose your wife. Niyi's face tightened. That is convenient. No. Convenient would be telling you what to do and blaming you later when life becomes difficult. He sighed. Ronke softened. Ask better questions. Like what? Not is Zainab a bad person? That question is useless. Why? Because people are not examination papers with pass or fail. Niyi leaned on the counter. Then what? Ask whether the behavior is a mistake she can recognize or a value she is defending. Niyi went still. Ronke lifted the cup to her lips. That difference matters. At 8:10, Johnson arrived. He was in his 50s, compact, careful, wearing a grey shirt buttoned all the way to the neck. He had worked as Niyi's household administrator for 4 years. Niyi trusted him. That trust made the morning uncomfortable. They met in the dining room. Niyi, Johnson, Uzo. Later, Titi joined briefly. Zainab was invited. She refused at first, then came down 20 minutes later, dressed in dark green, face composed. Ronke did not sit in. She stayed on the veranda with a book. This was not her hearing. That distinction mattered to her. Through the glass doors, she could sometimes see Niyi speaking. Sometimes Johnson, sometimes Zainab. Nobody shouted. At 9:30, Uzo came outside for water. Ronke looked up from her book. How are you? Alive. That is a low standard. Uzo smiled. They asked for the messages. Did you give them? Yes. Only the ones relevant. Yes. Good. Uzo sat on the far end of the bench without being invited, then realized and started to stand. Ronke waved her down. Sit. Uzo did. For a minute, birds made more noise than the house. Then Uzo said, some deductions were never taken. I know. Madam threatened, but later she removed them. That matters. Uzo looked at her. You keep saying things that help her. They help the truth. Uzo picked at the label on the water bottle. I am angry with her. You are allowed. But sometimes she was good. You are also allowed to remember that. Uzo looked toward the dining room. What if everybody wants a simple story? Ronke smiled faintly. Then everybody will be disappointed. Inside, the records told a mixed story. In 3 months, there had been 6 disputed deductions listed in messages. 2 were never applied. 1 was reversed after Johnson challenged it. 1 involved a missing serving utensil that was later found. 2 had actually been deducted from pooled temporary staff payments after damaged rental items. The amounts were not life-destroying. That was not the point. The problem was method. The agency agreement did not give Zainab unlimited freedom to decide collective deductions on the spot. Johnson admitted he had noticed the shift. Why didn't you tell me? Niyi asked. Johnson looked at him. You told me Madam Zainab would handle wedding house matters. I did. You said I should support, not interfere. I said that? Yes, sir. Niyi sat back. There it was, not hidden, not dramatic. His own instruction. Zainab looked at him. For the first time that morning, she had leverage that was deserved. You see? Niyi nodded. Yes. She blinked. You told him? Yes. So maybe stop acting like I took over by force. I agree. The room quieted. Niyi looked at Johnson. If I told you not to interfere, then part of this is on me. Johnson said nothing. Zainab folded her arms. Niyi continued. But I did not tell anybody to make deductions without a clear basis. No, Johnson said. Did you warn Zainab? I raised one issue, the pooled deduction. Yes. What happened? Johnson looked at Zainab. She answered. I reversed it. After how long? Niyi asked. 2 days. Why? Because the item was found. So if it had not been found? Zainab's face hardened. Then somebody had lost it. Somebody, not everybody. She looked away. Johnson cleared his throat. Sir, there is another issue. Niyi looked at him. Transport? Yes. Zainab closed her eyes. Johnson explained that 2 temporary workers had remained after 10 p.m. during a vendor meeting 3 weeks earlier. One had asked about transport before agreeing to stay. The request was denied. She left at her original end time. Zainab then asked the agency not to send her again. "Why did you approve that?" Niyi asked Johnson. "I didn't. Who did?" The agency accepted Madam Zainab's preference. They don't need a formal dismissal process for a worker the client no longer requests. Niyi rubbed his forehead. "Did we pay the 2 who stayed extra?" "Yes. Transport?" No. Zainab leaned forward. "Niyi, this is becoming ridiculous. We are talking about one night. No, we are talking about decisions. And I made some bad ones. That is what I am trying to understand." She laughed bitterly. "No, you are building a case." He looked at her. "If I were building a case, I would ignore the things you did right." He turned to Johnson. "Did she raise staff lunch allowance?" "Yes." "Did she replace the washing machine?" "Yes." "Did she pay Grace's medical expense?" Johnson nodded. "Yes." "Did she approve extra hours in other cases?" "Yes." Niyi looked at Zainab. "I am not trying to make you a villain." Her eyes became wet. "Then stop making me feel like one." He paused. "That feeling is not the same as being treated unfairly." Zainab stood. "I need air." She walked out. Not through the veranda where Ronke sat. Through the front door. Niyi did not follow immediately. He finished with Johnson. The solution to the staff issue took less drama than the relationship issue. That was deliberate. Real repair often looked boring. Niyi authorized a review of all disputed deductions from the previous 3 months. Where the basis was unclear or collective responsibility had been assigned without evidence, the money would be returned. Extra hours would be reconciled against agency records. Late work would require transport arrangements or an agreed alternative before people stayed. Johnson would resume oversight of staffing conditions. Any complaint about a worker's behavior would be documented with the worker's response before the household asked an agency not to send them. Again, except in cases involving immediate safety or serious misconduct. No grand speech, no envelopes of cash, no cameras, just rules that should have existed already. Niyi hated how simple some of it was. He had built colder, more complicated systems for perishable goods, temperature alarms, route escalation, driver check-ins, warehouse controls. Yet inside his own home he had relied on, "She will handle it." By 11, the money questions were largely clear. The marriage question was not. Zainab returned. Her eyes were red. She went straight upstairs. Ronke found Niyi standing alone in the dining room. "You look worse," she said. "Thank you. What did you find?" "Nothing dramatic. That can still be serious," he told her. Ronke listened. When he finished, she nodded. "What are you thinking?" "I don't know. Then don't pretend you do, Mum." She waited. He sat. "I love her. I know. She is not fake. I know. She has been kind to people. I saw. She has helped staff. Yes. She also." He stopped. Ronke sat opposite him. "She also what? Uses people's dependence against them." Ronke said nothing. Niyi rubbed his palms together. "Maybe not always. But when challenged. That is closer." He looked at her. "I keep thinking about the worker who asked for transport." Ronke nodded. "She set a boundary, and Zainab punished her for it." "Yes. She says it was disrespect." "What do you think?" "I think if one of my supervisors did that at work, I would be angry." "Why?" "Because the employee raised a reasonable concern." Ronke leaned back. "And in your house?" He looked down. "I didn't know. There is that sentence again." He winced. Ronke did not soften it. "Not knowing explains why you did not act. It does not prove there was nothing to act on." Niyi nodded. Outside, a lawn machine started somewhere beyond the wall. For a while they sat with the ordinary noise. Then Niyi said, "What would Dad have done?" Ronke's face changed. Her husband had been dead 12 years, but questions like that still opened rooms inside her. Yes, he would have become angry too fast. Niyi smiled. That sounds right. He would have ordered everybody out, then regretted half the things he said. Niyi laughed once. Ronke smiled. Then he would have come to me at midnight and asked whether he was foolish. What would you say? That depends. Sometimes he was. Niyi's smile faded gently. I miss him. I know. Ronke reached across the table and touched his hand once. No speech, just that. At noon, Zainab asked to speak to Ronke alone. They met in the sitting room, the same sofa. Ronke noticed it immediately. So did Zainab. Please sit, Zainab said. Ronke sat. Zainab remained standing for a moment, then chose the chair opposite. She looked smaller than she had the day before, not physically. Her certainty had left the room. I owe you an apology, she said. Ronke waited. I treated you badly. Yes, I made assumptions about you. Yes, I was rude. Yes. Zainab's jaw tightened slightly at the lack of comfort. Ronke noticed. Still, she waited. I am sorry. Thank you. Zainab looked surprised. Perhaps she expected refusal. Ronke gave her none. An apology could be accepted without closing the matter. Zainab continued. I also think what happened was unfair to me. Ronke nodded. How? You let me continue believing something false? Yes. You watched me? Yes. You wore the uniform? Yes. You could have stopped everything? Yes. Zainab leaned back. So you admit it? I admitted it to Niyi this morning. Zainab blinked. You did? I told him I think I allowed the misunderstanding longer than necessary. Some of the fight went out of her. Ronke continued. I also told him I did not create the misunderstanding, and I did not create what I observed. Zainab looked at the floor. I was under pressure. I know. You saw the house. I did. The wedding has become insane. I believe you. My work is also busy, yes, and Niyi has not been around enough. That is between you and him. Zainab's mouth tightened. Ronke leaned forward slightly. But pressure deserves context. It does not deserve unlimited permission. Zainab looked up. I know I can be hard. Hard is not automatically wrong. I expect standards. So did I when I ran a school. Then you understand. Yes. Zainab sat straighter, relieved to find common ground. Ronke continued. I also learned that when only junior people think your standards are unfair, you must be very careful before deciding the problem is all the junior people. The relief vanished. Zainab sighed. There it is. What? The lesson. Ronke's eyebrows rose. You think I enjoy giving lessons? You were a teacher. Vice principal, that is worse. For 1 second, both women almost smiled. It disappeared quickly. Zainab looked at her hands. I don't look down on poor people. Ronke said nothing. I don't. Ronke waited. My mother was not rich when I was growing up. Still, Ronke waited. Zainab looked irritated. Say something. About what? I am telling you I am not some classist snob. I did not call you one. You think it. I think you change your behavior depending on how much power you believe the other person has. Zainab went still. That is not the same thing. No, it is worse. Ronke did not answer. Zainab stood and walked to the window. My mother ran a fabric shop in Ilorin. People treated her badly. Rich women would make her unfold 20 pieces and then leave. They would speak to her like she was dirty. Ronke listened. I used to hate it. I believe you. So why would I become that? Ronke's voice stayed soft. Sometimes we learn the wrong lesson from humiliation. Zainab turned. What does that mean? Maybe you learned that the safest place is the place where nobody can speak down to you. Zainab stared. And maybe once you reached that place, you began speaking down. The words landed. Zainab's eyes filled again. Ronke did not feel victorious. There was nothing satisfying about seeing a wound become a weapon. Zainab wiped one cheek angrily. You make everything sound neat. No. You do. I am telling you a possibility, not a diagnosis. Zainab laughed through the tears. Vice principal. Yes. Silence. Then Ronke asked the question that mattered. Why did you apologize to me? Zainab closed her eyes. Not this again. Yes. This again. Because I hurt you. Yesterday you said, because I am Niyi's mother. I was shocked. Today? Zainab took a breath, because I treated you as less than me. Ronke waited. Zainab looked at her. And I should not have. Much better. Ronke nodded. Good. Zainab let out a breath. Then Ronke asked, What about Uzo? Her face changed. Not much. Enough. What about her? There it is. Zainab stiffened. What? You can apologize to me because losing my respect threatens something important to you. That is not fair. Maybe not. Prove me wrong. How? Talk to Uzo. Zainab's jaw tightened. I have already spoken to Niyi about her. I did not say talk about her. Silence. Ronke stood. Talk to her. About what? The lantern, the deductions. The way you use the agency when people challenge you. Zainab's eyes hardened. So now I have to beg my staff? Ronke looked at her, and in that moment, all the progress in the conversation bent around one word. Beg. Ronke felt tired. No. She picked up her handbag. You do not have to do anything. Zainab stared. What does that mean? It means accountability is only useful when chosen. You are making this a condition. I am not marrying you. The words were plain. Zainab flinched. Ronke continued. Niyi will decide his conditions. I am telling you what I see. She walked toward the stairs. Zainab said behind her. You want him to leave me? Ronke turned. No. You do, no. Then why keep pushing? Because I would rather my son marry a woman who learns than leave a woman who could have learned. Zainab's face crumpled for half a second. Ronke did not move closer. She let the sentence stay where it landed. Then she went upstairs. By late afternoon, the wedding calls had started. Not from guests, from vendors. TT had postponed meetings, but nobody knew why. Rumors filled empty space quickly. Zainab's mother called 3 times. Niyi's aunt called twice. Niyi turned his phone face down. At 5, he asked Zainab to sit with him in the study. No Ronke, no staff, no audience. The decision, whatever it became, would belong to them. Zainab sat opposite him. Her eyes looked tired. Niyi started without ceremony. I don't want to punish you. She laughed weakly. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. Then what do you want? I want to know whether we understand respect the same way. Zainab stared. That sounds like your mother. It sounds like me. Silence. Niyi continued. I can live with mistakes. Good. I can live with bad temper. She looked away. I can live with us discovering ugly things about each other. We will. Marriage is long. Her face softened slightly. But I cannot marry someone who thinks accountability is humiliation. The softness vanished. That is not what I think. Then talk to Uzo. Zainab's expression closed. Niyi? Not for my mother, Niyi. Not for me. This is absurd. He sat back. Why? Because she is staff. There it was again. Not because Uzo had lied. Not because Uzo had insulted her. Because she is staff. Niyi looked at the woman he loved. He remembered dinners where Zainab gave waiters generous tips. He remembered her paying a mechanic extra because the man stayed late. He remembered her buying medicine for Grace. He remembered her crying when a junior designer at her company lost a father. The problem was not that she lacked kindness. The problem was that when kindness collided with authority, authority often won. Do you hear yourself? He asked. Zainab stood. Yes, she is staff. That does not mean she is worthless. It means there is a professional relationship. Then apologize professionally. For what exactly? For blaming her after the facts showed she was not responsible. I corrected the record, without correcting the way you treated her. Zainab folded her arms. I will not perform guilt so everybody feels good. I don't want a performance. This is exactly a performance. No audience is here. Your mother will know. That is what you care about? Yes, the word exploded out of her. Finally. Yes, because this whole thing is about your mother judging me. Niyi went quiet. Zainab's chest rose and fell. She came here. She watched me. Now everybody is looking at me like I am wicked because I did not recognize a rich man's mother in a maid uniform. No, that is exactly what happened. No, if that were all, we would have laughed about it by now. She stared. Niyi continued. You are still talking about recognizing my mother, because that is the humiliation. That is your humiliation. Zainab stopped. He leaned forward. Uzo's humiliation happened before you knew who Mum was. Silence. The worker who asked for transport happened before Mum came. Silence. The deductions happened before Mum came. Silence. This is not about being caught. Zainab's voice dropped. Then what is it about? What you defend after being caught? The room became very still. Niyi did not want to say the next words. He had rehearsed none of them. He wished there were a dashboard for this. A red light, a clear metric. There was only the woman in front of him, the wedding date, the years they had already spent together, the life he had imagined, and one terrible question. If nothing changed, could he live with what he now knew? I need us to postpone the wedding, he said. Zainab stared. What? Postpone. Not cancel today. Postpone. Her face emptied. No. We need time. No. Zainab. No. You don't postpone a wedding 3 weeks before because of staff complaints. It is not because of staff complaints. Then say the truth. Because your mother doesn't approve. She has not told me not to marry you. I don't believe that. She told me not to ask her. That is worse. She can pretend her hands are clean. Niyi's jaw tightened. Stop. What? Stop making her responsible for every decision you made before she arrived. Zainab laughed bitterly. And what about your decisions? You gave me the house to manage. Yes. You left me with wedding planning. Yes. You let staff call me for everything. Yes. You enjoyed not having to deal with any of it. Yes. Each answer surprised her. Niyi did not look away. I failed there. The room shifted. Zainab's anger lost one target. He continued. I am fixing that. I should have been involved. I should have checked conditions. I should not have treated domestic work as something invisible because I could afford to outsource it. Zainab's eyes narrowed. So now you are morally enlightened in 24 hours. No, I am embarrassed. That stopped her. I am embarrassed that I have stricter systems for drivers moving tomatoes than for people working in my home. Despite herself, Zainab almost laughed. He did too. It was a terrible moment to laugh. That made it human. For 2 seconds, they were them again. Then the silence returned. Niyi said, postpone with me. She looked at him. Use the time. We both change what we need to change. We do counseling, we reset the house, we deal with what happened. And after, we decide. Her eyes filled. That is not a marriage proposal. No, it is an evaluation. It is time. She shook her head. No, why? Because the moment we postpone, I become the woman your family rejected. My family has not rejected you. That is what people will say. People will say things. You can survive that. So can you. You don't know. Then tell me. She looked at him for a long time, then said something he had not expected. My mother borrowed money for this wedding. Niyi frowned. What? For family clothes. Travel, things she refused to let you pay for. How much? That is not the point. Does she need help? No. Then what is the point? Zainab wiped her face. The point is everybody has put something into this. Time, money, pride, expectation. You can walk away from one date and call it time. I have to face all of them. Niyi stood. I will face them with you. By saying what? The truth. What truth? That I was rude to maids? If that is how you describe it, we are still stuck. She turned away. He waited. Then he said, I am not asking you to become perfect. No response. I am asking whether you can admit the problem without changing the subject to my mother. Zainab's shoulders shook once. When she turned back, her expression was harder than before. No. Niyi stared. No, no. I will not postpone my wedding because your mother came here and decided I failed some invisible moral exam. His face closed. Okay. Zainab blinked. What does okay mean? It means I heard you. Niyi, I asked for time, and I said no. Yes, so. He looked at the ring on her hand. The ring he had chosen with ridiculous care. He remembered hiding it in a sock drawer, because he thought she might find it. He remembered proposing by the lagoon with no photographers, because she had once said public proposals made her uncomfortable. He remembered her crying. He remembered being certain. Certainty was expensive to lose. I cannot marry you in 3 weeks, he said. She went still. He continued, if postponing means the engagement ends, then I think it ends. Her lips parted. Niyi. He swallowed. This is not revenge. You are ending us over a maid. No, say it. I am ending the wedding, because when I asked you to look at how you use power, you called accountability an insult. You are choosing them over me. No. I am choosing what I can live with. And your mother? My mother leaves for Ibadan tomorrow. I would still have to wake up beside you after she goes. That broke something. Zainab sat down, not gracefully. Her knees seemed to give. Niyi moved instinctively toward her, then stopped. She covered her face. For a while there was no argument, only grief. Niyi felt his own throat close. He loved her. Love did not disappear because a decision became necessary. Sometimes that was the cruelty of adult choices. You could know exactly why you were leaving and still want to stay. Zainab lowered her hands. Her voice was small. Give me the ring box. He looked at her. You don't have to do this now. I said, give me the box. He opened the drawer. The original box was still there. She removed the ring. Her hand trembled. For 1 second, she held it between them. Then she placed it inside. Click. A tiny sound, louder than shouting. Niyi closed his eyes. When he opened them, Zainab was standing. I will collect my things tomorrow. You can take as long as you need. Don't? What? Don't become generous now. The words hurt. He nodded, right? She walked to the door, then stopped. Without turning, she said, I did love you. Niyi's voice broke. I know. She left. He sat alone for a long time. No victory. No satisfaction. Just consequence. Ronke did not learn about the final decision from Niyi. She learned from silence. At 7 that evening, Zainab came downstairs carrying one overnight bag. Her eyes were swollen. She had changed into plain black trousers and a white shirt. No ruby red. No emerald green. No polished event voice. She stopped when she saw Ronke near the bottom of the stairs. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Ronke stood. Zainab looked at her. You got what you wanted. Ronke's face tightened. No. Zainab laughed once. You expect me to believe that? I expected my son to make his own decision. He did, yes. Because of you. Because of what happened. Same thing. Ronke could have defended herself. Instead, she said, maybe that is how it feels tonight. Zainab gripped the handle of her bag. You really don't hate me? No. That answer seemed to hurt more. Zainab stared. Ronke continued, I think you did harmful things. That is different. You always have a distinction. Life keeps providing them. Zainab looked toward the kitchen. Uzo was not visible. Did he tell you? No. So you don't know? I know enough from your bag. Zainab swallowed. He wanted to postpone. Ronke said nothing. I refused. Still nothing. He said if I could not do that, we should end it. Ronke's eyes softened. I am sorry. Zainab's face twisted. Please don't. I mean it. You think I deserved it? Ronke considered the sentence carefully. I think consequences can be deserved and still painful. Zainab looked down. For a long moment, she stood with her bag between them. Then she asked, Did you ever like me? Ronke almost smiled. I had known you for less than 2 days. That is not an answer. I saw things I liked. Zainab looked up. You did? You are capable. You remember details. You take responsibility when you respect the person in front of you. Zainab flinched at the last part. Ronke did not soften it. That is exactly why yesterday bothered me. Silence. Then Ronke said, You already know how to behave with dignity. The question is why some people have to earn the version of you that knows how. Zainab's eyes filled again. She turned toward the door. Ronke did not stop her. At the threshold, Zainab paused. Tell Uzo. She stopped. Ronke waited. Zainab shook her head. No, I should tell her myself. She left. The next morning, Zainab returned with her elder brother and 2 suitcases. There was no family showdown, no shouting at the gate, no dramatic demand for the engagement ring. She had already returned it. She collected clothes, work files, wedding samples, and a box of shoes. Niyi stayed mostly in the study. Ronke left them alone when they needed to speak. At one point, Zainab found Uzo near the laundry room. Uzo stiffened immediately. Zainab saw it. That alone seemed to make the words harder. I want to speak to you. Yes, Ma. Zainab closed her eyes. Please don't call me Ma right now. Uzo looked confused. Zainab took a breath. About the lantern. Uzo waited. I blamed you before I knew what happened. Yes, I should not have. Uzo said nothing, and the deductions. Some of them should not have happened the way they did. Uzo's face remained careful. Zainab looked frustrated. Then she caught herself. For once, she did not demand a response. I am sorry. Uzo looked at her, not warmly, not cruelly, just directly. Thank you. Zainab nodded. She turned to leave. Then Uzo said, Madam. Zainab stopped. You were good to us sometimes. Zainab looked back. Uzo continued. That made the other times confusing. The sentence landed quietly. Zainab's eyes dropped. I know. She left. Ronke heard about that exchange from Uzo later. She did not tell Niyi immediately. It was not evidence for reopening the engagement. It was simply one decent choice. Decent choices did not erase old ones, but they mattered. The wedding was cancelled. That word traveled faster than any official explanation. By evening, relatives were calling. Some blamed Ronke before hearing anything. Some blamed Zainab without knowing her. Some blamed Niyi because wealthy men were always assumed to have another woman waiting. Ronke refused every invitation to give a family briefing. To BC, she said only, they made a decision. BC demanded details. Ronke replied, when it is your engagement, I will give you minutes of the meeting. Then she ended the call. Niyi handled the vendors. Deposits were lost. Some were recoverable, some were not. Money made those losses easier for him than they would have been for most people. But he did not pretend there was no cost. He paid cancellation fees that were his responsibility. Zainab handled the contracts she had personally signed. They did not use money to punish each other. They did not publish statements. They did not turn private pain into online content. When a gossip page posted that the billionaire businessman had ended his engagement because his fiancé insulted his mother, Niyi refused to comment. The headline was not completely false. It was simply too small for the truth. 3 weeks later, the house felt different. Not happier, different. Johnson had resumed oversight of staff scheduling. The agency sent revised statements. Uzo received the money from one pooled deduction that should never have been taken. Grace received a smaller adjustment. 2 temporary workers were paid additional hours that had been recorded but not processed correctly. Nobody became rich. Nobody's life transformed overnight. Uzo still took buses, still helped her sister, still checked prices before buying meat. But one Friday evening, she finished at the time written on her schedule. She stood at the kitchen door almost suspiciously. Johnson looked at the clock. "Why are you still here?" Uzo blinked. "I can go?" He stared at her. "Is your shift not finished?" "Yes." "Then go before somebody finds another plate for you." She laughed. That laugh stayed with Ronke. Not because it was a miracle, because it should never have required one. Niyi also changed things in ways nobody outside the house would ever see. He started reading household staffing reports once a month. Not obsessively. Just enough to know who worked in his home, and under what arrangements. If people stayed unusually late, transport was planned before the shift extended. Damage was documented before anybody's pay was touched. Workers could raise concerns through Johnson, instead of depending on the mood of whoever happened to be running the house that day. Boring things. Useful things. The kind of changes that do not make dramatic speeches, Ronke approved. Not that Niyi asked. A month after the cancelled wedding, he drove to Ibadan. No driver, no assistant, just himself. He arrived on a Saturday afternoon, carrying fruit, bread, and an expensive bottle of olive oil. Ronke had not requested. She opened the bag. "What is this?" "Olive oil. I can see. You said yours finished." "I said that 6 months ago." He shrugged. "It keeps." She looked at the price tag. "You people with money need supervision." Niyi smiled. That was better. He looked better too. Still sad, but no longer stunned. They sat on the veranda behind the house where he had grown up. The paint on one wall needed work. A neighbor's generator coughed to life. Somewhere down the street, children argued over a football. No marble, no caterers, no wedding samples. Ronke poured him malt. He took it. For a while, they spoke about everything except Zainab, his company, Bissie's latest complaint, a leaking tap. Then Niyi asked, "Have you heard from her?" Ronke knew who, once. His eyes lifted. "She sent me a message." "What did she say?" "That she was sorry for accusing me of trying to destroy the relationship." Niyi looked down. "And she said she has started seeing a counselor." His fingers tightened around the bottle. Ronke watched him. "She also said I should not tell you unless you asked." Niyi laughed softly. "She knew I would ask. Probably." "Did she say she wants me back?" "No." He nodded. That hurt him. Ronke could see it. But perhaps it also relieved him. "What did you reply?" he asked. "I said I wished her well. That's all." "What did you want?" "A report card." He smiled, then went quiet again. After a while he said, "Do you think I made the right decision?" Ronke leaned back. "You are still asking the wrong person, Mum. I mean it. I know." He stared at the yard. "I keep thinking maybe we could have worked through it." "Maybe." He looked at her, surprised. "You think so?" "I said maybe. That is not helpful. Life has refused to become helpful simply because you have money." He laughed. Ronke smiled. Then she became serious. Ending an engagement is not proof of wisdom. Staying would not automatically have been foolish either. The question was what you could responsibly promise after what you learned. Niyi nodded. "I couldn't promise marriage in 3 weeks. Then postponement was reasonable." She refused. "Yes. So it ended." "Yes." He looked down. Ronke did not tell him he had escaped disaster. She did not know that. Zainab was not a disaster. She was a human being with a hard, ugly habit around power and enough good in her to make the habit worth confronting. Whether she changed was now her work. Whether Niyi learned was his. That was enough. Before sunset, Niyi opened the boot of his car. Inside was a clear laundry bag. He handed it to Ronke. She frowned. "What is this?" "The uniform." Ronke stared. "You brought it from Lagos." "Uzo said you left it folded. I returned it." She said nobody knows what to do with it. Ronke laughed. So they sent it to me? She said you should keep it as evidence. Evidence of what? Niyi smiled. Your stubbornness. Ronke took the bag. The pale turquoise fabric was clean, pressed, ordinary. She held it up. This color is not bad. It suits you. Be careful, he laughed. Ronke folded the uniform again, one sleeve. Then the other, straightened the cream piping, pressed the air out of the bag. Niyi watched her hands. What will you do with it? Return it when next I am in Lagos. That is all? What else should I do? Frame it? He shook his head. Ronke placed the folded uniform beside her chair. For a moment, neither of them spoke. A month earlier, that cloth had meant nothing. A temporary uniform. Something worn by somebody whose name might not be remembered after the wedding. But it had exposed a question that expensive clothes often hid. Not who had money, not who belonged to which family, not who sat on which sofa. Who received respect before anybody knew they were important. That was the part of the story that stayed with me. People make mistakes. They misread situations. They assume wrongly. They have bad days. The deeper question is what changes our behavior. If respect appears only after we discover somebody's status, then it was never really respect. Ronke picked up the uniform and carried it inside. Niyi remained on the veranda, listening to children argue over the football beyond the wall. For once, he did not try to solve anything. He just listened.